This is gonna be one of the hardest videos, the hardest talks I've ever had to do in my whole entire life. I was going to have like a sheet. I was going to kind of type everything up and kind of go in order of what I was going to be talking about, but I want this to be like straight out of my heart. I want it to be very sincere. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about, it's probably going to be a shocker. It's if some of my family members are watching this, it's going to be a little heartbreaking to see this video or to hear what I have to say. I promise you it's no disrespect. I just feel like it's time that I talk about my life. I feel like it's time that I give my testimony, I start sharing it, because I've been through a lot in my life, and I feel like I could use my testimony to help others. I want to just kind of be an example and show people that no matter what life throws at you, you could still get up and you could still continue moving forward. It's gonna be hard. Probably gonna have to pause the video a few times, but I think we can. I think it's time that I start talking about this. Where do I begin? Well, to begin, I was raised in a pastoral home, meaning that my father was a pastor. I was raised in a pastoral home. My father was a pastor. This goes pretty much all my life. Currently, he's still a pastor. He was a pastor, I want to say, we moved. Okay, to begin with, my father worked for U.S. Sugar for many years. We lived in a company house on State Road 833, out there by 80. That's in Clewiston for all you Moorhaven, Clewiston people who know, sugar, who Sugar is. We lived in a company house, and I want to say I was really young. I can't tell you the exact year he started pastoring, but he started to be a pastor. I can't tell you when exactly he became a pastor, but it's been a long time. It's been a few years. My grandfather was a pastor of this church, a small church in Moorhaven, and my father took over once my grandpa, he moved. I'm not sure if he retired or what he did from the pastoral position, but he moved. He's back in Moorhaven, but he had moved, so my father took over. Now, nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. I can begin with that. Even because we were a pastoral home does not mean we were the best. We had no flaws. We made no mistakes. That's incorrect. And whoever thinks that, if a pastor fails or a pastor's kid is showing out in school or whatnot and thinks, and they're pastor kids, so what? So my parents, I'm not gonna say I didn't live the best life, because I did. I lived the best childhood. My parents, my dad busted his behind to provide for us. He gave us everything we needed and wanted, and some. And we never starved. We never had we can only have noodles this week. No, we had food. My mom could cook rice, beans, tortillas, some chicken wings. If my brothers are watching this, do y'all remember the chicken wings mom used to make in hot sauce with the crystal hot sauce? Dude, those were bomb. Okay, so anyways, my mom, was always taking care of the household. She was always cooking for us. She was always cleaning. I need to stop hitting the table. So she was always being a mom. She did that duty very well. At the time, at that time, my mom was working at the cafeteria at our school, and then my dad was working for Sugar. So my dad, a lot of the times we didn't get to hardly see him because he would be gone by the time we woke up in the morning, and he'd be home by the time we were already in bed. So there was many days that we'd go, we wouldn't really see my dad. We would have dinner every so often with him, a lot of the time actually, but during season we didn't see him very much. Now, back to where I was saying that we weren't a perfect house, we weren't a perfect home, but my dad did provide for us. He did give us everything we needed plus some. But now that I'm a little older and I've been through life, what I've been through, I've realized that there's more to having a relationship with God. It's not just you serve God because I tell you to. And I believe that's kind of I wouldn't call it a mistake because we're all learning as parents, but my dad and my mom never really took the time to explain things to us. Speaking for myself, it was just, you do what I say and that's it. And even up until this day, now that I have my girls, my oldest, which you'll see here in a little bit, and pictures and whatnot, my older little girl, she is 5 going on 6, and sometimes I'll catch myself saying, I'll tell her something and she'll say, why? Because I said so, Sophia, that's why. And it's just something that I'm kind of working on. I feel like every kid strives to be better than their parents, not because we were raised horrible, because we weren't. We had the best childhood, but we just want to kind of parent our own way and do things our way. So a lot of the times, we were never spoken to. And again, I need to stop saying we. I'm speaking for myself. I mean, honestly, I was never talked about, sex. That just was not spoken in our household. I was never taught, why you should serve God. It was just, you needed to serve God because we serve God and that's what we do, and we don't act like everybody else. We just serve God. We go to church. Now, back in those times, my childhood, I would say about 10 years old, 8 years old or so. I was, about 8 or 10 or so. Between 8 and 10 years old, we would go to church religiously. Every single day it was culto de jóvenes, culto de damas, culto de niños, culto de caballeros. Sunday we had Sunday school in the morning and then church at night. I mean, we were in church faithfully every single day. And it was, I'm not going to say that, the Holy Spirit wasn't there, because I do believe that it was. But the way we were raised and the way we were taught was very religious. We were very religious, and I feel like in the Hispanic culture, we're very judgmental. And I say we because I was like that, and I'm still daily fighting on how to better myself, how to become a better person, and just focus on myself and not focus on anybody else. So we were in church all the time. But long story short, when we were in church, it was church, we were one way. When we got home, it was a whole different story. My dad, I feel, was not the example that he needed to be at that time, to hold up to a pastoral position. He was not. My dad had many issues of himself to work on, and because he took on the pastoral position, he kind of just had to work at them both, and it just wasn't working out. At some point in our church going years at my father's church was banging. Like, we had a whole bunch of people. I can't even tell you how much people. We have a little park, like a Chalanica Park is what it's called. It's a Chalanica Park. And we would pack that place out full of people. We had people come from Montura, from Beltway, from South Bay, from Moorhaven, obviously, just from everywhere. We had people coming from everywhere, and those were some of the best times that I lived, because when I was younger we were very religious, and then once we kind of started moving a little bit more. Now when I say religious, just to be frank with you guys, we were like, you have to wear skirts, you can't cut your hair, you can't dye your hair, you can't wear jewelry, you can't wear makeup, that kind of religious. And so once we started to kind of grow, like more people started coming to the church, and we were introduced to encounters that a pastor in Bradenton was doing. I believe the pastor in Tampa was doing it. I can't think of his name right now, but a pastor in Tampa was doing encounters, and a pastor Cadena, he's awesome, from Bradenton. I believe he invited my dad and my brother and my uncles for the first time, and ever since then our church kind of like stepped away from being so religious, and kind of worked on something a little bit more like, you know, a little bit more freedom. Like, I guess my dad started to realize that it's not about being religious, it's about the relationship that you have with God. And those times I looked forward to. I had the best times in church. And I actually loved going to church, because when I was young, I dreaded it because it was just so boring and so, like I said, everybody was just so judgmental. And, you know, at the time I didn't understand, but now that I look back, I'm like, man, we spent a lot of time in church and nobody was happy. Nobody was happy. So back to what I'm trying to get at is, we were very, you know, presented in church as the pastoral family, but when we got home it was a different thing. My brothers, my older brothers, they were really bad, and you know, my dad was working all the time. My mom, she would work, and then since she was working at the school, she could get out early, so we'd all be home early, and she would cook and clean the whole time. And my mom never told me, like, you have to cook, you have to learn how to cook, you have to learn how to do this, no, she never did that. And I'm grateful for my mom, because and I give her all the attention that she needs. I give her all the credit, because now that I'm a mom, I know how hard it is. And mom did it, and she never complained, she never nothing, she just did what she had to do. And I give her all the credit. I owe her everything, because she is the definition of what a mom is supposed to be and what a wife is supposed to be. She did it all. And you know, like I said, I had the best childhood, but we lacked, again, speaking for myself, I lacked attention. And I was never, like I said, I was never talked about sex. I was never talked about boyfriends. I was never even talked about my menstrual cycle. Like, once I got it, only reason why I knew of it is because my cousin had started before me. So that's the only reason why I knew about it. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to you know, be a woman. And when I got it, it was kind of like, okay, this is what you gotta do. Figure it out. And like I said, my parents were really focused on, I think, mainly their own issues, because like I said, my parents weren't perfect. They had their own issues, and my dad always working, my mom always tuning to us, plus their own personal issues. Like, it was just so much tension at the house. My mom and dad did not get along. They fought a lot. My dad would leave sometimes, and this is all why we are a pastoral home. So I really feel like, you know, we weren't really led the example that they wanted us to be. We weren't really led in those footsteps, and I think that's why a lot of, you know, my brothers kind of just parted their own ways and are doing what they want to do. And oh, this is gonna be hard. I think that's enough about the church stuff. Way back, my 3rd grade year, I remember it as if it was yesterday. I began to be molested. And this went on from my 3rd grade year all the way up until my 9th grade year. Every single night. And on top of my parents not getting along, on top of going to church for no reason because things just weren't changing at home, I wondered, why me? But because my parents were so busy and so focused on their own issues, and I saw that they didn't get along at the time, I didn't want to bring more problems. I knew what I was going through was wrong, but I didn't want them to have to deal with something else. Or what if they didn't believe me? What if this person, they didn't believe me and this person would do something worse to me? I was never raped, or, I wasn't like, I was never raped, but I was just molested. And that was the first time that I've ever seen a young boy, a young man, expose himself. Like, that was the first time I've ever seen that. And I go back to my 3rd grade year. Now I'm 27 now, and this is all something that I've kind of like just healed, and I've prayed and I've cried and I've asked myself why. For many of you who know me, who know my childhood, I always struggled with weight. I've always, my childhood, my teenage years, I was always heavy set. I was like, I believe in the 7th, 8th grade in a size 15. And the reason why I didn't care to be pretty, the reason why I didn't care to be skinny, was because I was being molested. And I thought, if I let myself get fat, if I let myself just look ugly, then this person would leave me alone. And it didn't work. It didn't work. And this person was so dear to me, so close to me. At first I was very upset. I was confused. Being in the 3rd grade. I was in the 3rd grade. I didn't know what was going on. But I knew it wasn't right, and I knew enough not to say nothing. This person never threatened me. This person never said, if you tell your mom and dad, I will do something worse. It was just like he would molest me and not say a word and go on about his business. Never did he say, this is going to be worse if you say something, don't say nothing. Never. But I guess because I never said nothing, it just kept progressing more and more. And I remember, because by the time that I would wake up in the middle of my sleep, this person was already on top of me, or this person was already molesting me. I would wake up to that. And I remember that sometimes I used to use a lot of mousse gel and hairspray in my hair. And I remember I used to put all of those bottles, my gel or my mousse bottles and my hairspray bottles, I used to put them by my door, like right at my door, so that whenever the door would open, I could hear him fall, and I could stop him before he did anything. I'm a hard sleeper, so by the time that didn't work, I would wake up always to something. And again, I started off confused, and then I started off sad because my parents knew nothing of what was going on, and they were in the room right beside me. My parents were. And I started to have low self-esteem because of this issue. Because all this was going on, I was just like, I'm just going to be ugly all my life. I'm going to be fat all my life. And I don't care. This person eventually, went to an encounter and asked for forgiveness. And, I kind of got to the point where I was kind of mad. I was mad because this person was close to me, and how could you? Then I just kind of felt numb. I kind of grew numb to it. I was just like, it happened, whatever. So he went to an encounter, we forgave each other, or he forgave me, I forgave him, or he asked me for forgiveness and I forgave him, and it still hurts, but like I said, I'm 27. The last of it was my 9th grade year. I'm 27 years old now, and I have a relationship with God, and and I've prayed and I've cried and I've begged God to just give me the strength that I need. Just give me the strength that I need. And now this person, we're really close. We're still close. Like I forgave him. Many would say, what? Girl? But for real, like honestly, I forgave this person, and I've learned that we should not hold grudges. I think this person is into church, and I think that I think that he has recognized what he did was wrong. And like I said, I forgave him, and that's part of like something that I've learned, that you forgive and you move on. And you'll never forget. I'll never forget. But I have learned to forgive and to move on. And I don't hold grudges. I don't hate this person. I don't wish bad on anyone. That I don't wish bad on this person. I just pray to God that he is healed in fact, and that nothing else, nobody else has to be, part of his victim, or be part, a victim of his. But that's something that I have healed, and it's taken so long. Before I could talk about this, to like, nobody knows this, by the way. This is the first time I'm talking about this. My husband was the first one to know about this, and he was livid. And I remember I would talk to him about it, and I would just cry and cry and cry and cry and cry. I could not talk about it. Now, what I just cried was nothing compared to what I could have, I used to cry. So that's part of something telling me that I am ready to share this. I'm ready to be strong. I'm ready to help other girls to speak up. Speak up. Like, it's wrong. It is wrong. And if your parents don't believe you, contact your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents. That's what family is for. And I'm not going to say that my parents wouldn't have believed me. I believe they would have. But I was more scared of what are they going to do to this person. So I just stayed quiet. I just kind of dealt with it, and I just moved on. So that was short for, that's just a little bit of my childhood, but those are the main events that impacted my life. Was, not having the best relationship with my mom and dad, and being molested my whole childhood. So because I had been through so much in my childhood life, I became very bitter. I became very mad. I didn't think that God I don't want to say that he didn't exist. I just thought that God maybe abandoned us. I don't know. I questioned God. I'll be honest. I questioned God, and I questioned his existence. Like, why would us being a pastoral family, why in the world would he let us go through so much? I understand now, but at the time I didn't understand. And I became very bitter, very mad, very heartbroken. And I'll be honest, I did not want to get married. I did not want a boyfriend. I did not want to be in a relationship. I just was like, I cannot wait to get a job. I cannot wait to save money, and I cannot wait to get out of my dad's house. Like I want to leave this house. And I got my first job at McDonald's. Got my first job at McDonald's in Clewiston. And Michael says that he does not remember me at McDonald's, but I call bullcrap because I remember him. But I remember seeing him. It was never like, oh, he's so cute. No. But I do remember seeing him, and we did talk at McDonald's, but nothing. It was just like a normal, regular customer, keep it moving. And after I left McDonald's, I started working for a small grocery store that was in our town called USAVE. And I remember seeing his dad, my father-in-law, Clyde Johnson, come in there every single time with his younger boys, Eli, Titus, and Noah, and he was constantly getting groceries, or sometimes he'd be going in on the weekends. They were going out on the boat ride, so he'd buy a whole bunch of snacks for them, and we always kind of clicked. Like he'd go in there, I'd have a conversation with him, and it was kind of like we knew each other all our lives, but obviously we didn't. I didn't even. Only reason why I knew of Clyde Johnson is because of business, my father's church and whatnot. That's the only reason why I knew who he was. Never clicked to me that was Michael's dad, nothing. So out of nowhere, Michael Johnson starts coming into the store. And again, it didn't hit me that that's your dad or I seen you at McDonald's. It was just whatever. I felt nothing for him. Remember that I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to have a family. I wanted to be by myself because I had been so hurt in my childhood. I didn't want a man in my life. Sure, I dated and I had boyfriends, throughout my, teenage years, but it was nothing serious. I never really kissed any of them, but a few of them. And I wanted nothing. I didn't want nothing serious. And in comes Michael Johnson into the grocery store. Him and his cousin, Bradley. They come into the store and they buy a bunch of Mellow Yellow canned sodas. And I'm like, what the heck? These boys are weird. I wrung them out, kept on about my job, and they left. And then days later, Michael Johnson comes in again. At this time, he is working for the city of Moorhaven. He is working on the garbage truck. He's picking up, trash. And he comes in on his lunch break. I don't think he was on lunch break because it was an early morning. He had just walked in to say hey, and that was it. Well, still didn't think nothing of it until that night when I get home. I have a friend request on Facebook, Michael Johnson. Now I'm like, okay, this boy is weird. Why is he friend requesting me? Like, he's just a customer. Weirdo. So I believe I added him. I don't remember if I added him right away or if I just thought he was just weird. So I added him and he starts messaging me. And now I'm like, okay, this boy is weird. So I kind of message him back and forth. But still, I'm not thinking nothing of this boy. Well, the next day he comes into the store. And he's like, I was going to ask you last night when we were messaging, but I wanted to be, how did he say it? I wanted to be, I can't remember how he said it, but pretty much saying that he wanted to have what's the word I can use? He wanted to tell me in person. The word I can think of is not appropriate. He wanted to come in and tell me face to face that he wanted my number. So I'm like, okay. I give him my number. And it goes from there. That was my senior year, 2011. Sorry, I don't have dates, but it was in 2011. We started talking, I believe, in like March of 2011, and I'm graduating this year. This is my year. I'm a senior. I'm 18, and I'm moving out of my dad's house. So, here comes Michael Johnson, and he starts messaging me, and we start talking, and oh my gosh, it's Michael Johnson. So we start talking, and here comes June of 2011. I'm graduating. I'm a senior, and I'm actually 19 at this time because I'm a year behind. I was a year behind. I stayed behind a year, so I was actually 19. And I was 18, and then in June when I was graduating, I was gonna be 19 because graduation was June 3rd, and my birthday was June 1st. So June 1st, I will never forget these days, this sequence, however you want to call it. But June 1st was my birthday, and he gave me my first kiss behind my dad's expedition. Sorry, Dad. He gave me my first kiss June 1st. June 2nd, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Of course, I said yes. June 3rd was my graduation. He attended my graduation. You'll see some pictures coming up now. He attended my graduation, and then we dated for about 1 month. And because he was in a previous long relationship before me, his excuse was that he could not get over his ex-girlfriend, and he broke up with me. And I was really upset because here I am again, heartbroken. This is why I should have never talked to him to begin with. This is why I don't want to have a man in my life. This is why I shouldn't have talked to him. So what I'm trying to get at is that he was really the first boyfriend, the real first boyfriend that I've ever had, because my dad let me go on dates with him. Not far, like to his Nana's house to have lunch. Shout out to Nana, because she always has food. If you're hungry, go to Nana's house, and she will have food for you, and she will have a Mellow Yellow or a Coke or some sweet tea. Nana always has food. I love you so much. I love you so much, Nana. So anyways, because my dad was kind of giving me the freedom to kind of like get to know Michael and have dates with him, we only lasted a month, and he came around my family, and I don't remember if I came around his. I don't think I did. I don't remember. I know his mom and dad knew who I was, but my dad was like, nope, he's not serious. You're not going to talk to him again. He is not allowed to come to the house no more. Leave him alone. So that's what I did. But because we were separated, nobody knew we were together. We were still together from June up until I think December is when we made it public again. I don't remember. But we were together for all that time, from June to December or January. I think it was January. We were together, and just nobody knew. We kind of just kept it to ourselves. And we just held that relationship. We never stopped talking. I don't know what it is about him, but I wanted to be with him. And I think honestly part of it was because he was my first real boyfriend, and he had a job, and he didn't have no money. But because he had a job, and he was not living with his parents, I thought, okay, maybe I can live with this guy. I didn't want to get married, but it's funny how God works, and I'll kind of tie it all back together. But I didn't want to get married. I just was like, maybe I can leave with this guy, and he could take me out of my dad's house, and I could live my life. Well, I was wrong, because Clyde and Shannon did not play that. So January or December, I don't know if it was the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, we make it public. We're talking again. Well, my dad does not like the idea. He does not want me talking to Michael. No, I don't want you talking to him. Well, we still continue to talk. And April or so, in April of 2012, I believe it was in April, Michael proposes to me. Now, we've only been dating publicly for like a few months. Like, boy, you crazy. But he did ask my dad before he asked me if he could, ask me to be his wife or propose to me. And Dad said yes. And things just started moving really, 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 really fast. And long story short, because I feel like I'm lagging this video, long story short, we get married in December of 2012. We just met in 2011. Now we're getting married in December of 2012. And things go on a roller coaster from there. A roller coaster. To December of 2012, me and Michael got married December the 15th of 2012. And I was so happy. I was so proud. I was just ecstatic to be married to Michael Johnson. The whole time we were dating, the whole time we were talking to each other before we got married, I knew that he was doing things he weren't supposed to. He was not supposed to be doing, such as smoking and drinking. But I kind of, like I said, he had a job and I was ready to get out of my dad's house. And I just kind of ignored the facts, I ignored the issues that were going on. I never thought to ask him, how much money do you have? Are you going to be able to support us? Nothing. He was a Johnson, and I knew that we were going to be okay. And so I just, I did love him. I'm not going to say I just left my house just because. No, I did love Michael. And I did have feelings for him, and I did want him, to be my husband. But it's just something that I kind of ignored, and I still married him. I married him. When they say that love is blind, love is blind. Just to kind of pause right quick and give, whoever's watching some advice. If you're single, if you're in a relationship, but you're not living with this person, you're not married, take your time, find out who this person really is, hang around a lot with his family. I just was so lucky and so blessed, and I'm so thankful, because Michael's family is one of the best families. They are awesome, hands down. I know in the beginning I had like comments to say about them here and there, but honestly and truly, 7 years married, they are awesome people. They are awesome, every single one of them. So yay. No, so anyways, take your time to get to know this person. And it's not all about sex, guys. It really isn't. Whenever you get married and you move in with your husband, you're not going to just be having sex. You are going to, you speaking to the ladies, you're going to have to take on the household duties, the wife duties. And if you plan on having kids, the mom duties. You're going to have to cook and clean and do laundry and satisfy your man, and plus take care of yourself. You have a lot to do. There's a lot to do on your plate, why the husband should be working and providing for the family, for the household. But again, take your time, really get to know who you're talking to. And something I would say is, the man or the woman that you're talking to, if they don't respect their parents, they are not gonna respect you. And Michael, I'm not gonna say he disrespected his parents, because he knew better. They taught him well. He just kind of went off on his own. But the way that he would talk to his mom and dad was a way that if I ever attempted to talk to my mom and dad like that, I would get smacked and I would have to pick my teeth off the floor. So I would always kind of like, don't talk to your mom and dad like that. You don't do that or whatnot. But Michael, he is very outspoken. He is gonna tell you what he thinks. He's gonna tell you what he feels, and he's gonna put no filter over it. He's gonna tell you exactly how it is. And I always joke with him and I say, you have no feelings. Like, because he can tell you and hurt your feelings And he would not budge. He would just continue going on about his day like nothing ever happened. Now, back to the conversation. So Michael would, at the time when we first got married, Michael was taking over our finances. He was the one paying all the bills. He's the one who knew how much money we didn't have. He's the one who took over everything financially. Again, I'm not gonna say we had the worst marriage, because we didn't. Were we perfect? No. Are we perfect now? Heck no. But when we first got married, it's like he wanted to do things his way, I wanted to do things my way, and if you don't want to do it this way, then I don't care. Like, we were just really young. I was 20 years old, I believe, when I got married, and he was, I don't know, 22, 23. So we were really young, and we thought we knew what we were getting ourselves into, but in reality, we didn't. And he, we moved really fast. We got married in December. I believe I found out I was pregnant like in April or May, and I was already like 2 months or so. And I had my daughter in November of 2013, because we got married December of 2012. So, we moved right away. We had no money. We had nothing. We got married in our city park, Moorhaven. A small city park. We got married there. I didn't want nothing big. I didn't want nothing fancy. I didn't even want that. Somehow it turned into what it turned into. But we got married in December at the city park of Moorhaven. December the 15th. Am I saying that right? Yes, December the 15th. And again, we had no money. We had nothing to our names. The only way we were able to get through that week was because people gave us gift cards, and somebody gave us a gift card to Walmart. So I was able to go buy our first iron from Walmart. Shout out to, I won't say the name. And then I got, I don't remember who gave us, some people gave us like gift cards with money on there. We had like $250, I think, on gift cards. And we used that night, we went to the movies because, we were married, and we had nothing to do. We didn't have no money to go on a honeymoon. So we went to Fort Myers. Did we even go to the movies? I don't remember. I think we did. We just went to the movies, and then that was on Saturday, and then Sunday we were at church. And again, we had no money, we had nothing to our names, and we were young and we were dumb, and we started off really fast and really rough. So again, fast forward to 2013, I have Sophia Johnson, November the 6th of 2013. Well, I would say October of 2013, I was working at a bank. I was working at the bank here. So it was called Seacoast National Bank at the time. I was working for Seacoast, and that time I was huge and pregnant. They had sent me to Okeechobee to train to be CSR. So I was training in Okeechobee at the time. I was working for a bank, you guys, and our account, one of the big no-nos is that you cannot, if you're an employee for the bank, your account cannot be in the negative whatsoever. Like, you are terminated if it does. Like, you are subject to dismissal. I was training in Okeechobee, and I will never forget the day. I even remember what I was wearing, guys. I had went to Target a few days or weeks before, only because I was going to be training, and this bank was a lot more busier than Moorhaven, so I wanted to dress fancier. I didn't have no money. I don't even know how I did it, but I went to Target and I found some maternity clothes, and I will never forget, I had a navy blue shirt top on, maternity top with light blue polka dots and some black slacks. Never forget it. I'll never forget it. And I remember somebody saying, Jasenia, you have a phone call. So I left the teller line and I went to the desk that they took the call, and I'm like, hello? And I will never forget, Michael says, hey. I said, hey babe, what's up? He's like, I'm in trouble. I'm like, what? He's like, our account's negative, a few $100s. I have a problem and I don't know what to do. My first thing, I ignored problem. I don't know what to do. My thing was, our account's negative and I'm training over here in Okeechobee. Do you know that they're gonna fire me? My account cannot be negative. You're gonna have to figure this out. You gotta have to figure this out because I'm about to lose my job. I am training to be a CSR and you put our account negative, you need to figure something out. And at the time we were getting paid bi-weekly. So man, guys, we would get paid on a Friday or whatever day. Like he would get paid every 2 weeks on a Friday. I got paid on the 15th and the last day of the month. And we would like pay all of our bills one Friday and we wouldn't get paid until 2 Fridays next. And we'd have like $20 to our name. And that's not even including groceries. How are we going to buy groceries? How are we going to buy gas? I don't know. But we had nothing. We had nothing, guys. And there was times where we had to settle for... I'll never forget these days. They're awesome. At the time they weren't, but now that I look back, I believe everything happens for a reason. We would have to buy bread, ham and cheese, mayonnaise, a jar of pickles, a bag of chips, and I would boil some sweet tea. And then for breakfast, it was grits and eggs every morning. And that's all, that was my groceries. I cannot buy anything else. I didn't have money for anything else, and I was too prideful to ask. So that was our breakfast and lunch. And for dinner, the same thing. We had to have a sandwich, and for dinner we always laugh at this because I said we got fancy. We would open the jar of pickles. We couldn't eat pickles for lunch. We could only eat the pickles for dinner. That's how much it was hard for us. And sometimes, I had to buy those ramen noodles, tomato, whatever it's called. Ramen noodles is what I call them. That's what I had to get sometimes, and I would have to eat that. So times were so tough. And then on top of this, now Michael has an issue. What are we gonna do? I don't know. You have to figure it out. Of course, we were able to borrow some money to put our account back to the positive so I wouldn't get in trouble. And things just went down so fast. Mind you, I am about to go into labor. I'm full-blown pregnant. I am miserable as heck. And he tells me he has a problem, blah, blah, blah. Well, after that, now I start seeing the signs. I don't want to say that I didn't see them. I think I did see them before. I just ignored them. But now I'm seeing everything. I remember one day after all this was going on, one day I was doing laundry. I was putting clothes up. When I went to fold his pants, a little pill bottle container fell out. I'm like, what the heck is this? It wasn't like the actual bottles that the pharmacy gives you. It's like an actual pill container that they sell like at the dollar store or something, because that's where he got his. And you can kind of like twist it open and whatever, and you know what I mean. So it was a gray silver bottle, and I was like, what the heck is this? And when I went to open it, I seen the pills. Prescription, like my brothers, whenever I hear drugs, and I hear somebody say I'm on drugs, I'm thinking weed, I'm thinking crack cocaine. That's drugs to me. So my brothers, I'm not going to say that they were like, freaking drug addicts. I'm not going to call them out their name like that. But drugs to me growing up was weed, because my brothers got caught with weed all the time. All the time. So when he was saying drugs, I still was like, well, what the heck? What kind of drugs are you on? What are you smoking and whatnot? So, but his thing was prescription pills. And anyways, when I opened the bottle, I was like, well, what the heck is this? What is this? Why do you have this? And he's like, oh, it's just I had a headache or whatever. And I just gave it to him. Okay. He is the one who actually had to tell me, I really have a problem, babe. I'm really addicted to prescription pills. I'm like, what? Boy, you crazy. How can you be addicted to prescription pills? I was still very naive towards it. I didn't really understand. And turns out as days went on, as time went on, things started getting worse, and I started to know more about this, and I started to see him react certain ways, and we were always arguing, always arguing, and it was mainly about finances, because we'd get paid on a Friday, and before I could get to work to pay the bills, he was withdrawing $100 to $200. I'm like, boy, we could have used that to pay something. No, he was using it for his pills. So every single time we were always fighting, we were always arguing, bills started to pile up, and I didn't know what I was going to do, because now I have a baby and my husband's addicted to prescription pills and he's taking money, and I'm not sure what to do. It's long. If I sit here and tell you guys everything, I could sit here forever talking. But long story short is, he started taking money. I was like, okay, I'm going to close this account. I'm going to open a new account. I'm going to change my debit card number. I'm going to hide my checks. I'm going to have my mom hold my debit cards. I've tried everything. And I got to the point where he was starting to write bad checks and cashing them. So now, not only did he put us in the hole, he owed somebody else money. And he was always owing people money. For instance, like people who he was getting his drugs from, he was owing them money, and we were constantly having to pay him. Well, now he's starting to owe these city officials, like I would say, like people who are well respected in the community. He started to owe them money, and now it's a problem because these people are well respected, and it's embarrassing that you're doing this, and these people wanted their money back. So I know one person we were able to work with, and we paid that person off. There's another person, like, okay, you're gonna have to work this off because the balance is too high and you knew better. And it was just a mess, you guys. Honestly, I am getting a headache talking about this right now. And it was nonstop. That was all of 2013, all of 2014. And I remember telling Michael, if you don't get your crap together, I will not go into 3 years with this. I will not. I'm only going to give you 2 years to get your crap together. And we've already been together 1. You have all of 2012 to get your crap together, because I'm not going to go through this again. Well, long story short, in August of we got married in 2012. He went all 2013, all of 2014. Yeah, and then I believe it was in August of 2015 is whenever he said, babe, like, it was really bad. Like, you guys have no idea. We argued, we fight, we fist fight, we would break things. It just was not a healthy marriage. I was bitter as heck. So bitter. I was so mad. And it all ties back with my childhood. Again, why is God making me go through this? Why is God in his, why is he allowing me to go through this? First, my parents not getting along and not being the example that they needed to be for me, to being molested my whole childhood. And I said I never wanted to get married. I never wanted to have a man in my life, to being married. And now I'm going through all of this. Like, why is God doing this to me? Why? I didn't understand why God was doing this to me. And at this point, I was pissed. I was bitter. My heart was so full of hatred. I really, I don't want to say there was no God, but God, I felt truly abandoned me. Like, I wanted nothing to do with church. I wanted nothing to do with God. I wanted nothing to do with anybody. I shut myself off. And before that, kind of back up a little bit, in 2015, Michael said, okay, I have a problem. I really need to go get this fixed. I want help. I'm going to go to rehab. So he checked himself into rehab. Now, he had just gotten a job with his current employer now, and he hadn't been there a year. So he didn't qualify for FMLA. He didn't qualify to for sure have his job when he came back. So it was all a risk, but he was willing to do it because he said he needed the help. I honestly was like, no, you don't. You just want to get up and you want to run from your problems like always. And you're going to leave me here by myself with Sophia at the time. I was pissed. At that time, I was like, you go and get your help. But when you come back, I don't know if you're going to come back home. I don't know if I want to be with you no more, because this is just selfish to me that you are doing all of this. Because back up a little bit, my parents, my dad and my uncles were all drug addicts. They really had a hard time with crack cocaine, and I can't tell you what else, but they were drug addicts, like literally on the streets, drug addicts. And none of them, speaking for my dad, he didn't go to rehab. He just said he knew that he had to get himself together for his kids, and he quit cold turkey. So my thing was like, Michael, you can do that too. You don't need rehab. My dad did it. My dad did it. That's all I used to say. My dad did it. You can do it too. And so anyways, I was just saying, you know, my dad did it. You could do it too. And I became very mad, very bitter. I wanted nothing to do with him. Nothing at all. So he goes to rehab for a month. He comes back out, and he is not on drugs, and he's doing pretty good. Up until this day, I don't know exactly what triggered him to start again, but he eventually relapsed, and this time it was a lot worse. Now he was stealing from his parents. He was stealing from me. He was pawning everything that we did have of value. He was pawning it. He was pawning his dad's stuff. He was pawning his mother's stuff. It was worse this time. And that was all of 2016. And I eventually was like, you know what? I'm not going through this no more. We've been married 3-4 years. I'm not doing this no more. Like, you know better. I'm only enabling you because I'm letting you stay here. I don't want to be in this relationship no more. I don't want to be married anymore. I want you to leave, and I want you to not come back. I can't do this. Well, now I am pregnant. I am pregnant, and now it's like, crap. Now I really don't know what we're gonna do. Because we have nothing. We don't have any money. You're on drugs. I don't know what to do. And abortion never, ever came across my mind. Just to be clear, abortion never came across my mind. But I honestly would say within myself, like, I don't want this baby. This baby is gonna suffer. Like, Sophia, the only reason why she was able to eat and have what she had was because of WIC, honestly speaking. And I'm like, you know, so we bring in another baby, she's gonna suffer. You know, we already have one suffering. Why do we have to bring another one, you know, in this world to suffer? And I was very... now, you know, I was upset and I was mad. Again, abortion is not my beliefs, but I knew that I did not want this child because of the circumstances we were living in. And kind of, you know, just to go back a little bit, Sophia, when I was pregnant with Sophia in 2013, my OBGYN was like, you need to go see the specialist. She does this test. It's, you know, routine. Everybody has to do it. You just go, you get it done, you come back to me, no problem. Well, I went in to go see the specialist, and that day I was supposed to find out what I was having because I was not able to tell what I was having yet. So that day I was supposed to know if I was supposed to have a boy or a girl. And my mother-in-law came with me. And with me and Michael. Well, long story short, we went into that room and they did the ultrasound, and I knew something was off. The technician was just being very weird, very worried. We would ask her, what is that? And she's like, I can't discuss this with you. The doctor will be in to discuss everything with you. So we knew something was wrong. We just didn't know what. We go into the, you know, the doctor eventually comes in and she tells us that my daughter has some spots in her brain and that she's gonna have a severe case of Down syndrome. I don't know exactly, you know, the word she used or whatnot, but pretty much saying that she was gonna have Down syndrome. And because of the spots that she had in her brain, I guess like it's normal if a kid, the baby has like 2. My daughter had like 5 3 on one side, 2 on the other, and one was really big. So they were saying that she was gonna have muscle problems, or yeah, like muscle problems, heart problems, growing problems, lung problems. You know, not all of those at once, but she could have those problems due to the spots on her brain. Okay, I'm 20 years old. I don't know what the heck. No, I'm 21, I think, at the time. I don't know what to think. I am heartbroken. I am shocked. And then she proceeds to tell us that I still have enough time up until I forget how many weeks it was to terminate my pregnancy if I wanted. Of course, we told her, lady, you are crazy. We are not aborting the baby. We're going to keep the baby. And I'm never going to come here again to see you because you're full of crap. Bye. Long story short, I left there. I held myself together because it kind of was like shocker to me, but I held myself together because I didn't know what else to think. When we left, my mother-in-law never got to go back in the room to us because we were dealing with such bad news. She never got to come back there to see the ultrasound. When we left, I'll never forget this day. There's a Cheddar's restaurant right beside the doctor's office, and ever since that day, I never in my life want to go into a Cheddar's ever again. Ever since that day, I've never been into another Cheddar's. Not that I don't like the food. I think the food is great. The service is great. The place looks great. But because it brings me back to those memories, I never want to go inside of a Cheddar's again. So we drove into the parking lot next to the doctor's office. It was a Cheddar's place. And I bawled out crying my eyes out. I am bawling. My mother-in-law's in the back seat and she's rubbing. She's like, hey, don't get like that. It's gonna be okay. Don't get like that. And I was just so upset, and I had to call my mom because they weren't there, and I'm bawling my eyes out, and what happened, and I'm telling them everything that's happening, and they're like, you gotta trust God, you gotta believe in God, and everything's gonna be okay. And I'm like, no, it's not. They're telling me that my baby's sick and that I should terminate, that, you know, it's not a good idea that I have her, and I don't want a Down syndrome kid. What if I get so attached to this kid and this kid passes away because I know they don't live a long life? And my dad was like, well, who told you that this kid is not going to live a long life? How do you know? And it was true. How did I know? So we didn't tell anybody about this story. We told nobody. It was just my parents, Michael's parents, and our pastors. Because I didn't want negativity in my life. I didn't want to have to deal with the questions or, well, why you still carry on the pregnancy if it's going to be such like this? So on top of dealing with this issue, dealing with Michael's issue, we finally go to have Sophia in November, and nothing was wrong with her. We believed and we trusted God with everything that they told us about Sophia. We believed and we trusted God with it. And you know, Sophia's here. She is going on 6 years old. She's 5 years old, and there is nothing wrong with her. No health problems. Nothing is wrong with her. She's a healthy baby girl, healthy little girl now. She thinks she's grown. She's a healthy girl, and you know, that's just something that we kind of had to deal with. So on top of all that, again, Sophia was born in November of 2013. Now, dealing with the stress of wondering if my baby's going to come out healthy or not, dealing with the fact that Michael was, you know, addicted to prescription drugs or prescription pills, you know, things just were like spiraling downhill really quick. That kind of gives you a little bit of Sophia's story. And then we, you know, Michael and I, again, I'll say it, we got married, and I ignored a lot of what I was seeing in him, what he was doing, stuff. I was raised in church, so I knew right from wrong. And I go back to the issue where, you know, he started to owe people money. We didn't have money. Bills were piling up. We had a baby. And now, again, I am pregnant with my second child.